What's up, guys? Today we'll be talking about color in worship on a Sunday morning. Honestly, just what color looks like um, towards the end of the service when Tony's wrapping up his message. This is just going to be a very simple tutorial. It's going to be nothing crazy. If you don't know a ton about color, this is really helpful. This is really good. And if you do know about color, then this is good as well because this is a great way to play color. There's so many ways you can play color overall, but this is the most simplest way, and honestly, you don't really need more than this. But this is a great way to go about it. So we're just going to jump right in. We're going to look at three main things here on the keyboard. So I know there's a lot of buttons here, and it kind of looks like a crazy mess of just so many buttons. But we're mainly just going to be looking at three buttons. This first one is this master volume, and honestly, we're not really even looking at this one because this one will stay up all the way no matter what. At least we want it to. This master volume is always going to be all the way up. If you see it down, turn it all the way up. It should always be all the way up so we can give the soundboard and the mixing guy all the control to turn it down himself. So we just want to be giving him the most signal we can. So this piano level, this guy is also going to be all the way up most of the time except color. So like during worship, I know this isn't a worship tutorial on like how to play different songs and stuff. This is color, but this will stay all the way up during worship. But then when we introduce color, we can dial it down just a little bit, and that's because sometimes during color we'll want more synth than piano. But at the same time, sometimes you want more piano than synth. So it kind of just depends. And honestly, there's no right or wrong way to do it. You kind of just want these to sound the way you think is good. And if you feel like there's not enough piano, then you can turn this guy up. If you feel like there's not, if you feel like there's too much piano, you can dial this guy back. And this synth, we're going to talk a little bit about this. So if we turn this piano all the way down, well, first of all, this is just what the piano sounds like without any synth. So we're just gonna play a G here, and that's just the piano. And I have my foot on this sustain pedal here, and we'll talk about that here soon. But this is just a G chord, and when we bring in this synth, it starts bringing in that air pad, that nice warm tone. That's great for color. So sometimes it's good to dial in this piano just a little bit and let this synth breathe, because like you don't want the piano to be super harsh because that's just a little bit distracting. And during color, you kind of just want to be laid back and no one really wants to notice you're there. You kind of just want to be there, especially with that synth sound. So if we dial that back to like halfway, even if I press this as hard as I can, it's not going to be incredibly loud. And even if we dial it back a little more, look how loud that is. And I'm playing as hard as I can right now. And these two knobs, you kind of just want to mess with these. And that's with just the synth. So that's no piano. So, and then here's all the way piano. And you can dial this in as much as you want. Like you can do whatever you want. There's no right or wrong way to do this. You do want enough synth and you do want enough piano. That is for sure though. So another thing is the sustain pedal. We will want to be or have our foot on the sustain pedal pretty much the whole time unless we're changing chords. And changing chords, you really don't want to change chords that fast. You kind of just want to keep it very slow during color. So for example, if I play this G here, I'm gonna keep my foot on that sustain pedal, or else when I take it off, it completely goes away. So we'll want to keep our foot on that sustain pedal for sure, unless we're changing to another chord. So if I change to another chord right here, at the same time that I come down, I'm going to lift my foot and then push it back down. Or else if you keep your foot on the whole time, what it's going to do is it's going to carry that last chord over with this chord. And it sounds kind of cool, but you really don't want that. You don't want the G and the C to be mixed, because then when you're going from a G to a C to a D, it's going to be like all those chords mixed in once. And you really just don't want that. So it's pretty simple. You just keep your foot on the sustain pedal the whole time unless you're changing a chord. Then you come up and down really fast. So that last chord, we basically just leave it behind. Okay, so let's look at what chords we're actually going to play during color. So if we are playing in the key of G, the chords we'll want to be playing mainly are just 4 simple chords. And those chords are, and we'll also want to be playing power chords. And power chords, you don't, like I said, you don't have to do this, but this is just the most simplest way, honestly, to be playing these color chords. Power chords are just the 1 and the 5. If you know a lot about music theory, that's just the G and the D. If you don't, your typical G is this, and this is a 1, a 3, and a 5, and you just want to leave out that 3 and just play the 1 and the 5, so like that instead of that. And power chords is like all I play during color. Again, so many people do it different ways, but this is just the most simple. This is the easiest way to get around color, and power chords are for sure going to keep it the simplest. So if I go to a power chord G here, all it's going to be is here on my right hand, and my left hand's going to be doing a dual octave bass note G right here. So I'm just going to be playing the G on this octave and the G on this octave, and that just it's a good balance of the low end. You don't want to play just this, you don't want to play just this, you want to play both of them at the same time. So now if I'm going to go switch to a C, which is a 4, that's actually really easy because I am going to keep my 1 and the 5, I'm just going to keep that there. I'm just going to move the bass note to C. So if I go from G to C, I'm not moving my right hand at all. I'm just moving my left hand. So we'll go G, and we'll go down here to C. And look how good that sounds. I mean, you really don't need to move your right hand at all. As long as these keep staying, you can go anywhere with your left hand. And I'm keeping my right hand the same exact the whole time. So yeah, that's a good way to go about. That's a good way to go about color. The chords we're actually going to be playing are G, C, E, which is E minor, but we're not going to be doing that minor. We're just going to be doing the power chord G and the bass on the E right here, and then D and C. You can play like an A, but you really don't want to. You just want to be playing those 4 simple chords, which most Switcher songs are always 4 chords anyways. So mostly in color, what we'll be doing is if we have a closing song especially, we will be playing the chord progression of like the chorus or maybe the bridge of that song, mainly just the chorus. And if we have 3 songs up front, mainly we'll be playing the last song that we just did during color. And you don't have to do that, but it's mainly what we do, especially if we have a closing song. We'll be playing that chord progression to kind of lead up to that song. And you want to be playing in the same key. So, for example, if we're doing Gratitude as our closer, and I'm coming up to play color right now, here's something that I would do. I'd be like, okay, the chord progression for Gratitude is G, and then it's D, and then it's C, and then it's E, and then C. So that's kind of a lot of chords in just one chorus. It's kind of a lot of chord changes, but we will not, you do not really want to be playing the same exact tempo that Gratitude is in. You'll want to be definitely going slower for sure, because remember, we're trying to be pretty laid back, and we don't really want the people in the audience to know that we're even there. You kind of just want to be very, very undistractive. If that's even a word. So we'll go to this G here, and then I'm going to go to this C, or I'm going to go to the D, and instead of playing this 1 and 5, I'm actually going to go down here, because this is a little higher in tone. That is. This is still a G and a D though. So this is still a G and a D. But it's just, instead of being up here, because our left hand is already playing this G, since we're going down to this D, I'm going to keep this G alive. So if you notice, I dialed the piano back just a little bit. The synth right now is pretty loud. And again, you'll hear this in your ears while you're playing, so you'll know if like, oh, I feel like the synth is just too loud, then you can dial it back a little bit. But I think this is a pretty good level. So we're just gonna go in that chord progression. So we're gonna start on that G, and we're just gonna let this breathe. As long as our foot's on that sustain pedal, this synth will be going. So then we'll go to this D. And then we're going to go to C here. I'm going to dial this back just a little bit as well with this. And then we're going to go to this E. We'll go to that C. And so this is kind of extra, but that's a good way. So this is extra, a little extra stuff you can do with your right hand. Your right hand does not have to be just playing that 1 and 5, but it can be, and it sounds really good either way. So one thing I like to do with my right hand is I like to switch and kind of mix in these 4 notes right here. It's just this D, this F sharp, this G, and this A. And that's just in the key of G. So if you're playing color in C, it would be if you're playing color in C, it'd be B, C, D, and G. So those are the 4 notes. I mean, they're different for each key that you're playing in, but you can always transpose. You can remember that. You can always transpose during songs if you want to play in G, but it's actually in C. So we'll go with G here. We'll throw in some noodling. It's called noodling on the right hand, and that's just a little movement. So it's not so boring. It's not so bland. So there's no like really right or wrong time you do this. Obviously you want to be familiar with what these notes sound like, so you don't want to play just a bunch of random ones at random times. So we're just going to go to this G again. And then I'm going to go to the C now, actually. But before I do that, I'm going to just hit this G, and I'm going to hit this A. And then I'm going to go to the C. And then I'm going to do that same thing. And then I'm going to go to the A, or the E. And then I'm going to hit this A with this G on the D. And then I'm going to hit this F sharp, C. And again, I'm literally just using my left hand is doing the same thing. It's literally going G dual octave, C dual octave, E dual octave, C. Like my left hand is doing nothing but the same 4 chords. So I'm gonna go, and again, there's not like a right or wrong way to play these chords. And yes, you do want to be playing the chord progression, but you can switch it up a little bit. So I'm gonna show an example of switching up just a little bit, just so it's not the same thing over and over and over and over again. So I'm gonna go to E, and then a D and a C. And this is something I like doing during color because it just keeps, it's repetitive, but it keeps the tension just a little bit in the color. So you'll see here, I'm gonna go E, and then I'm gonna go D with this A, F sharp, C. So that's not the chord progression of Gratitude. It is the same key. You'll for sure want to be playing in the same key as the closer, or the last song we had in the first session of worship. So I'm going to do this again. I'm going to go to the E. Nice and slow. Nice and slow, just like that. I can do that again. F sharp to the C. And you can repeat those only three chords over and over again until you can switch it up and go, you can even go E, and then we're going to go to a C here. And then we're going to go to this D. That's pretty cool. Let's try going back to the G here. Dial this piano back just a little bit so it's not super distracting. We're gonna put that back. Now we're gonna go to let's go to a D. And then let's hit this D and this G, because this is one of our 4 notes that we like to noodle with. And then we'll hit that A, E, now my right hand is doing some movement there, but it is just these 4 notes. So I was going the power 1-5 and then the F sharp, power 1-5, F sharp. Sounds weird by itself, but when we throw that in, sounds pretty good. So again, color is mainly just about creativity and what you want to do and how you can be creative around the keys. There's, like I said, there's no right or wrong way to do it as long as you're staying within these 4 chords and these power chords. It's actually really easy, as you can see. And even if I wanted to be lazy and do no noodling, which is just fine, like no noodling is just fine, it still sounds good. I will literally just be going, like anyone can do this if you've never played keys before. I could just be hitting these 2 at the same time and be going from E to a D to a C, just like that. Like, it's the easiest way to play color, and I could just keep doing that. I mean, it's as easy as it gets. So yeah, I mean that's how I like to go about color. You can go about it in a ton of different ways. There's ways to play it in C. It's mainly all the same though. You just want to be staying with those 4 chords: the G, the E, the D, and the C for sure on your left hand. Your left hand wants to be doing nothing else, literally just that, and mixing those around. And your right hand mainly wants to be staying between the 1 and the 5, and it can be up here or it can be down here. This is still G and C. G, C, or sorry, G and D. G and D, G and D, G and D, G and D, G and D. So, yeah. And remember, if you're going to noodle, just keep it within these 4 notes. You can go up here if you want. It's never worth it to be like, oh, I should. It's just stay within these 4. Like you just want to keep it as easy and less distracting as it can be. So yeah, I like this. I like this mix in the synth and the piano. I think this works together really well for color. I think it has enough synth and it definitely has enough piano. And then my masters all the way up to this is just something to keep in mind when you're playing color. Like, you don't want to make sure your volumes, you don't want to make sure they sound bad. You don't want to make sure there's no synth or no piano, because that just sounds bad. They work really well together. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, you can ask Kaylee, you can ask Nolan. They're really good resources for this stuff. They have really good experience in color. So yeah, just don't overthink it. Take it easy, just do the simple stuff. You don't want to be going crazy and doing the harder stuff for sure. If you feel like you're not comfortable doing all the noodling, don't do the noodling. Just stay with that E, D, and C. And you can go back to the G, and then you can go to a D, and then you can go to a E, and you can go to a C. And you just do that. You switch those chords very slowly. So yeah, that's color.